Hello, and we're joined by David Macaulay from Eden Search today. David, why don't you kick us off by telling us a bit more about what Eden Search is all about and what you guys do with your clients?
Yeah, so thank you, Laura. Great to meet you. So Eden Search is a specialist boutique search company. We've been operating for over 14 years within the global ag tech, fresh food and food tech markets, really working with businesses of all different shapes and sizes to support them on their senior hires at a board level or non-exec level. And so that ranges right across that platform from leading research institutions through to the food tech businesses on one end of that supply chain that are innovating the food for tomorrow. And we partner with them around key areas of key leadership hires, but we also offer support around different strategic advice and guidance around organizational design, and also different special projects where they might need support. We're based in the UK, but around 35% of what we do is outside of the UK, in particular within North America and Europe. And we love the sector and have been aligned to it for a long time.
So in terms of hiring new talent in agri-food, agri-tech, particularly at those senior level positions, so what is the biggest game-changing development that you've seen in the last 10 years?
I think really it wouldn't necessarily be how the game change has happened in search expertise. I think the industry has just gone through a huge evolution. And I think within that world of agribusiness and agri-tech, we actually separate the two. So the agri-tech world for us is a global marketplace. It's a marketplace that's funded by very different types of organizations. The big impact of private equity has had on venture capital on some of these exciting innovations. And I think that has changed out of recognition really over the last 10 years, and it continues to change. So what does that mean from a senior hire perspective? Well, I think we see two different elements. One is that the increase of what is seen as non-farming or agri-tech talent come into the industry, and that's exactly what we need. It's new innovations, it's new people with new ideas, new ways of working, finding some of the solutions to the challenges that the industry and frankly the environment and the world are grappling with at the moment. And that's a really exciting development that we've seen really accelerate, more so over the last 5 years than perhaps the 5 years before that. And that's really directed to funding. And secondly, I think what we've also seen, though, is an increasing value of the expertise that makes some of those fantastic ideas actually a reality. My challenge would be in the last probably 5-6 years ago, there are too many businesses that raise too much money under a really nice presentation with actually little contemplation of how you're going to bring this into the supply chain and make this happen on farm or in factory. What that has proven from a search perspective is the value of clients asking us to find people that can really connect that amazing technology to actually that farmer in the field looking to drive practical change, which will impact their business. And that's the bit that I think is really exciting. And that will not change, in my humble view, over the next 5 years. That acceleration will come fast. There'll be a rationalization of those ag tech companies that are going to consolidate. But the need to connect that with either UK agriculture or global agriculture on farm is going to accelerate. And we've got an important part to play in that.
Absolutely. And I suppose leading on to that, through the various roles that you've helped with, what do you think has been the biggest challenge to widespread technology adoption in the industry, and what do you think needs to happen to tackle this?
Yeah, so in danger of kind of keeping going with that theme, I think in its most active phase, probably 2.5-3 years ago, money was getting raised without necessarily a true application of how that technology was going to impact either on farm or in certain seed development or machinery or whatever. It was really, let's get to this point and move on. And that has definitely changed. It's been tough. The global rationalization of ag tech businesses is the same in food tech is happening now. But I think what's coming out of that is a real clarity of what's working, what's scaling, how you can partner better with industry, better with government around different grants, and businesses like Agri-TechE as to how you really drive that interaction. And I think that therefore will mean that there's a lot of investors, founders that have been burnt, that have learned some hard lessons, that are now far more focused on what they need to make that success. But also I think the industry is opening its doors and its ideas just to say, right, how can we make this happen? Because the problems haven't gone away. The problems have frankly got clearer and in more need of more drastic help. So I think there has been a warming of that. So the fundamental need of having great individual people that are bringing new skills into agriculture hasn't changed. I think we've just got better at doing that. And the industry, I think, has got better at opening their arms to saying, well, how can that change? My one bit of advice that I always say is let's just understand the food system that we're operating in. The UK is one example, and Europe would be the same, is one of the most complex, fast-moving food systems in the world. It is so efficient because of the dynamic forces that influenced it. And so do not go into this lightly. This takes time, and this takes the right people in the right place to make that connection. But if you can, there's some fantastic examples of where that's really impacting on, not only the environment, but also the food supply chain that we rely on so much.
I couldn't agree more, David. We're working in such an exciting industry at the moment. It's very dynamic, and as you say, it's opening its doors more and more, and that can only be for the better. So let's look forward to the next 10 years ahead. What do you think is the most exciting thing we'll see in agri-tech recruitment?
So I think in ag-tech recruitment, I think you'll see a continuation of, I think you'll see different businesses that are coming into it, frankly. I think from a pure recruitment industry, there will be a growth, I think, in a number of businesses that say, hold on, this is a really interesting area where we're bringing some of our pharmaceutical knowledge, some of our automotive industry, and we're looking at that. So I've got to get, as a business leader and owner, I've got to get better at making sure those people don't come into the industry, haven't I? But I think it's going to become even higher on the general industry and the importance of what we're doing. But I think from an industry perspective, our job is to make sure we're supporting businesses through that growth and sometimes leading them, sometimes follow them. So if I was to give you a picture, I think there will be farms that perhaps are over 3,000 to 4,000 acres that have a shared data resource. There will be a data director that is part of the team, and it might well be that their finance director then morphs into that type of role, because I think the value of the data will be as important as the value of the numbers. I also see that the view of kind of technology and engineering will evolve. And I know you're talking kind of 10 years. I'm going to probably put 5 years on that, because I think a lot's going to happen in the next 5 years. So I think the way engineering, automotive, all of that is just coming thick and fast into the industry, and that will change not only the talent, but also how us as an organization needs to shape. I don't think this is anything other than an evolution of what we're doing. There will still be the need for excellent, brilliant agronomists, brilliant individuals that are able to translate the technology into practical on-farm change or in factory change. So I think this isn't saying that elements of our industry or workforce are going to be redundant. Far from it. I think they're going to be even more valuable than perhaps we assume that they were. And as a search company focused on the top end of that talent pipeline, that we've got an important part to play for that. But I'd also say, from a non-exec perspective, is that I see businesses being far more open-minded about how they're building their advisory boards, their non-exec boards, to help with that change. If you're privately owned businesses, of which there are many in UK agribusiness and frankly global agribusiness and agri-tech, actually I can see the time where you have a non-exec director that might be a data expert or might be a engineering expert, and it's a great way to bring different knowledge experiences in at an advisory level to really drive your strategy as well as your on-farm practical application. And I think we've got a really important part to play within that. And I think the industry is opening their mind to those kind of different types of appointments that the businesses or the industry's made in the past.
So a multidisciplinary future, I think, is what you're telling us is the key.
Absolutely. And those that are embracing that and are open-minded of that, I think, will be at the forefront of that. I also believe it won't necessarily be driven by regulation, but it will be a soft regulation where banks in particular will be saying, okay, so what is your advisory element? You are asking for X millions of pounds to invest in the automate change of what you're doing, but I'll happily support you. but what advisory team do you have around you to make that? So I think that change can happen for the most proactive, but I also think those, that change will happen. And those that are at the forefront of that, I think, will get the most out of that opportunity.
And final question, David, just in a couple of sentences, what is your vision of the future farm, and how will Eden Search be responding to that and supporting it?
What is my vision for the future farm? I think one that really takes the sentiment that we talk about now and makes that into a reality. So a well-balanced farming business that talks about sustainability, but sustainability from the bottom line in an industry that values food security and food availability. And that has influence not just with retail, but with customers and within the wider public, but that is therefore supported with really different and diverse individuals around that, not only within the diversity of individuals that are on farm, but also the diversity of tools and robotics and data, but really a rationalization of the key tools that the farm of the future is going to use. I would love that to be measured on one hand, frankly, of the different apps and processes. And the industry has a real opportunity to bring that together. If we don't, frankly, there will be a continuing disconnect between what's happening on farm and what might be happening in a boardroom of the latest VC that's plowing millions into the next development. There's an opportunity to bring that together, but there has to be an opportunity to do that. And as a result, there will be a diversity of systems, diversity of people, but a real connection to having a sustainable farming business on all different elements of sustainability. And that's the bit that I'm excited by.
Fantastic. So a multidisciplinary future with diversity at the heart of it.
Absolutely.
Great. Thank you very much, David, for your valuable insights.
Great to connect.